At the will reading, I watched my parents lean forward as the lawyer began to speak. Their eyes sparkled not with grief, but with expectation. I wasn't surprised. I'd seen that look all my life, every time my younger brother Ryan walked into a room. I used to think I was imagining things. That maybe I was too sensitive, too independent, too difficult to love. But when my father interrupted the lawyer and boldly claimed they'd be accepting my inheritance on my behalf, just to redirect it to Ryan, I felt something inside me snap. The room went quiet, everyone stared. I opened my mouth to speak, but someone else did first. My grandmother. And what she revealed next flipped everything upside down. I thought I'd lost. But what I didn't know was that Grandma had been watching all along, and she wasn't about to stay silent. I used to believe all families had favorites, that every sister had to sit quietly while her little brother was given the world and told he was born to lead. From the time we were kids, my parents made it clear, Ryan was the golden son. I was the independent one, the overachiever, the girl who could handle herself. On my 10th birthday, I got a homemade cake and a hug. The same year, Ryan turning 7 had a backyard carnival with pony rides and a magician. I remember watching from the kitchen window, wondering why my parents didn't smile at me the way they did at him. School didn't change anything. If I came home with straight A's, my parents would nod and say, "We expected that from you, Madison." When Ryan scraped by with B's, there were pizza parties and proud Facebook posts. I joined every club I could, debate team, science fair, school newspaper. I studied late, got into a top university with a merit scholarship, and even started freelancing on the side to help cover housing. I'd call home sometimes, excited to share a small win, only to hear, "That's nice, honey. Did you know Ryan made the varsity team?" Meanwhile, Ryan coasted. He changed majors 3 times, dropped out for a year to find himself, and crashed one car before being gifted another while. I took the bus in the rain to my internship. The truth was painful. No matter how much I did, how hard I worked, it was never going to be enough to earn their pride, because I wasn't him. I learned to keep my wins to myself. I stopped trying to impress them, but the ache lingered. I thought maybe, just maybe, when I graduated, when I bought my first condo by 26, they'd say they were proud. Instead, Mom said, "We always knew you'd do fine. You don't need us like Ryan does." That line stuck with me, not as comfort, but as a sentence. I didn't need them, so I didn't deserve them. But what hurt more wasn't what they gave him, it was what they took from me. My voice, my place, my right to be seen. So when I walked into that will reading, I wasn't hoping for money. I wasn't even hoping for recognition. I just wanted one monotone page of truth that said, Madison mattered. But even then, my parents weren't done rewriting the rules. They were ready to erase me one final time. And this time, I wasn't going to let them. When I left for college at 18, I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't scared, I was, but because I'd learned long ago that showing emotion never got me anywhere in my family. Especially not when the spotlight was already fixed on Ryan. While I juggled a double major, 2 part-time jobs, and a brutal commute, Ryan stayed home. He took a gap year to figure things out, which looked a lot like sleeping in, gaming until 2 a.m., and occasionally applying to startup internships my dad pulled strings to get him. My parents sent him money regularly. "He's still finding his path," Mom would say, as if it justified wiring him $200 a month. Meanwhile, when I asked for help with a textbook fund, I got, "Well, you're the responsible one. You'll figure it out, Maddie." So I did. I freelanced in design. I taught myself how to budget down to the last cent. By junior year, I had enough saved up to move off campus, live modestly, and graduate without debt. No handouts. No bailouts. Just hustle. And yet, no matter what I built for myself, my parents never asked me how I was doing. They never visited my apartment. They didn't come to my senior showcase, even though I was one of only 2 students chosen to present at the University Design Expo. But they did drive 6 hours that same weekend for Ryan's amateur drone racing competition. I remember standing backstage, holding my portfolio, waiting to see if they'd surprise me. They didn't. I performed for a crowd of strangers. Later that night, I got a text from Mom. "Sorry we couldn't make it, sweetheart. Ryan's drone won 3rd place. Isn't that amazing?" I stared at my phone for a long time. That was the moment I stopped trying to win their attention. I realized I was living for approval I would never receive. After graduation, I got hired at a mid-sized financial firm and worked my way up to lead designer. At 26, I bought a 1-bedroom condo in my own name. Not a palace but mine alone. I thought that would earn some recognition. When I invited my parents to a small housewarming, they barely looked around before saying, "It's nice. You've always been self-sufficient. We don't worry about you." That wasn't a compliment. That was dismissal dressed as praise. Ryan still lived at home. He was now toying with another startup idea, and my parents, bless them, were going to help invest in it. "He just needs a little boost," Dad said. And once again, I was reminded. Ryan was a work in progress. A project worth pouring into. I was the finished product they'd already shelved. But what they didn't know was this. All that independence, all that silence, it had built something far stronger than approval ever could. It built resolve. And when the moment came where I'd need to stand up for myself for what I was owed, I'd be ready. They just didn't see it coming. When Grandpa passed away, I didn't cry right away. Not because I didn't love him. He was the only person in the family who had ever made me feel truly seen. But because grief, in my world, had always been private. No room for it in the house I grew up in. At the funeral, my parents sat beside Ryan, hands on his back, whispering support. I sat a row behind, alone. When I gave a quiet eulogy, sharing how Grandpa used to send me handwritten birthday cards every year without fail even when he couldn't make it to the party, my mom blinked like she didn't remember. She probably didn't. 2 weeks later, I received a formal envelope. The lawyer's office. The will was to be read the following Thursday at noon. Grandpa had named all direct heirs' children and grandchildren. That included me. I didn't know what to expect, but I held a fragile hope in my chest. Maybe, just maybe, he remembered me in a way they hadn't. The day before the reading, I received another envelope. This one wasn't from the lawyer. It was from my grandmother, me, late grandfather's wife, still alive but quiet since the funeral. Inside was a short handwritten note in Grandma's neat, looping cursive. "Madison, I want you to come to the reading. It's important. Your grandfather made sure of something. Please don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Love, Grandma." It caught me off guard. She and I had always shared a soft, unspoken connection, but she rarely inserted herself into conflict. That note, though it told me more than words on a page, it told me something was coming, and that I was meant to be there. So I took the day off work, wore my cleanest blazer, walked into the law office with my head high, even when I saw my parents glance at each other and smirk the moment I arrived. Ryan waved politely. I nodded back. We hadn't spoken in months. I sat down. The lawyer shuffled papers. Everyone quieted. And then it began. The reading started calmly. Grandpa had divided his estate evenly among his children. Then came the section about the grandchildren, Ryan and I included. When my name was mentioned with the phrase equal share, I saw the flicker in my parents' expressions. Something in them tensed. Dad cleared his throat. "Actually," he began, "we'll be accepting Madison's portion on her behalf. She's never been particularly concerned with these things." The lawyer paused. I froze. Mom smiled like it was all perfectly reasonable. Ryan didn't say a word. I opened my mouth to object, but I didn't have to. Grandma stood up. Her voice was calm, firm. "I think we should all hear the rest of the will first." And I knew, in that moment, something was about to shift. The room went still. The lawyer gave Grandma a respectful nod and continued reading. As he listed each grandchild's name and the corresponding inheritance, I felt a lump rise in my throat. When he confirmed that I, Madison Claire Whitmore, was to receive a portion equal to Ryan's, my parents shifted uncomfortably. My dad interrupted again. "Let's be reasonable," he said, glancing at the lawyer, then at the rest of the room. "Madison's doing well. She has a career, a condo, no debt. Ryan is still building. He's got a startup in development. Grandpa would have wanted the money to go where it could grow." He chuckled like it was common sense. Mom chimed in with her usual sweet tone. "And Madison has always been so generous. She's never been materialistic. I'm sure she wouldn't mind letting her brother use it for something meaningful. He's the dreamer in the family." Meaningful? Ryan hadn't held a full-time job in 2 years. I clenched my fists in my lap. "I don't need anyone to accept anything on my behalf," I said, my voice even. Dad turned to me, the mask slipping for a second. "This isn't about you, Maddie. It's about family, about doing the right thing." Mom nodded. "Don't let pride cloud your judgment." Pride? Judgment? No, this wasn't about pride. It was about finally refusing to disappear. "I'm not giving up what Grandpa left me," I said firmly. Ryan looked down at his shoes. He hadn't said a word, not even to thank them for fighting this twisted battle in his name. The lawyer cleared his throat. "Legally, unless Madison signs a waiver or power of attorney, the inheritance is hers, entirely." Dad's jaw tightened. "We'll see about that." And for a moment, I thought he might lash out in front of everyone, but then he did something worse. He started reciting a list of everything he and Mom had ever done for me. The braces, the shared roof during college, the 1 semester of books they helped with. Every ounce of parental responsibility twisted into a guilt trip. "You owe us, Maddie," he said. "We raised you. Don't forget that." Mom added softly, "If you loved us, you'd do what's right for the family." I didn't respond. I couldn't. My voice had turned to stone in my throat. Then I felt a hand on mine. "Grandma." She looked at me with eyes that had seen everything: decades of favoritism, of silence, of buried wounds. "You don't owe them anything," she whispered, "and your grandfather knew it." And right there, in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about money. It was about finally being allowed to take up space in my own family. And I wasn't about to shrink again. After the will reading, things unraveled quickly. My parents left in a storm of cold glares and muttered accusations. Ryan followed behind them, silent as ever. I stayed in my seat long after everyone else had cleared out, staring at the lawyer's desk, my name still echoing in my head like a foreign sound. Madison Claire Whitmore, entitled to 1 equal share of her grandfather's estate. It sounded fair, which, in my family, had always felt like a luxury. By the time I got home, the texts had already started. First from Mom. "You embarrassed us in front of the family. Was it worth it?" Then from Dad. "I hope you enjoy your blood money." And finally, from Ryan. "I didn't ask for any of this." That one stung the most. I didn't sleep that night. I paced my apartment, the silence louder than anything. The little girl inside me still wanted to say, "I'm sorry, please don't hate me." But the woman I'd become knew better. By the 3rd day, I decided I needed space, real space. I requested time off work. I turned off my phone, and I did something I hadn't done in years. I drove to my grandparents' old cabin by the lake, the place where Grandpa taught me to fish, and where Grandma used to sneak me cookies when no one was looking. When I arrived, the door creaked like it was expecting me. The dust was thick, the silence healing. I lit a fire, wrapped myself in a blanket, and let the tears come, silent, long overdue grief. Grief not just for Grandpa, but for all the years I'd spent begging for scraps of love. The next morning, I found something tucked into the guest bedroom drawer, a sealed envelope with my name on it, written in Grandpa's careful, blocky handwriting. I opened it with trembling fingers. "Maddie, if you're reading this, then the will has already been readdanned. I imagine your parents are already making things messy. I want you to know, I saw it all. The way they overlooked you, the way they handed Ryan everything and told you to be strong. You were never invisible to me." This inheritance is not a reward. It's a recognition. I didn't give it to you because you needed it. I gave it to you because you earned it every single day you kept going, even when no one clapped for you. Your voice matters, Maddie. Don't let anyone take it from you again. Love always. Grandpa. I sat on the floor for what felt like hours, clutching that letter like it was life itself. It wasn't about the money. It was about finally being seen. And now, I had a choice to make. Stay silent again? Or fight for what had always been mine? I returned from the cabin with something I hadn't felt in years. Clarity. The letter from Grandpa burned in my pocket like a secret weapon, not of revenge, but of truth, and I wasn't going to keep it tucked away any longer. When I got back to the city, I called Grandma. She picked up on the first ring. "Did you find the letter?" she asked, as if she already knew. "Yes," I said, my voice cracked. "Thank you." She was quiet for a moment before responding. "Your grandfather wanted you to know that love can be silent, but it should never be invisible. He saw you, Maddie. Always." That was when she told me the rest. Apparently, months before Grandpa passed, my parents had tried to pressure him into adjusting the will. They had argued that Ryan needed it more, and that I was already fine. They even suggested making Ryan the sole beneficiary of the grandchildren's portion, cutting me out completely. But Grandpa refused. And not only did he refuse, he took legal steps to protect me. There was a clause hidden deep in the will, drafted quietly with the help of his lawyer and Grandma. It stated that any party who attempted to manipulate or redirect the terms of the inheritance would automatically forfeit their claim. It was airtight, enforceable, and devastating for the people who tried to cross it. And now, Grandma told me, my parents had triggered that clause. They had pushed too far. Not only would I receive my full share, but my parents' attempt to reallocate my portion to Ryan had now put their own inheritance at risk. The lawyer had informed them. Their response? Rage. "They're furious," Grandma said, "but they can't undo it. The documents are clear, and your father, well, he's saying you turned us all against him." I let out a bitter laugh. Of course. But then she said something that made me freeze. "We're removing your father as executor. The remaining estate will be overseen by myself and the firm. It's what your grandfather wanted if things got ugly." I sat down. Hard. I hadn't even realized I was standing. For the first time in my life, someone in the family had done more than say they supported me. They'd planned for it. Legally, deliberately, quietly. And that planning was now saving me from being erased. Still, the fallout came quickly. That night, my parents showed up at my apartment unannounced. My mother looked tear-streaked, mascara smudged. My father was stiff, red-faced, jaw clenched. "You had this all planned, didn't you?" he spat. "You manipulated Grandma. You poisoned your grandfather against us." I didn't flinch. "Grandpa made his choices, and you made yours." My mother stepped forward, hands wringing. "Don't do this, Maddie. Just sign it over. Ryan needs this." "No," I said, my voice firmer than it had ever been. "I needed a family for 28 years, and I never got one." They froze. Then my dad laughed a bitter, cruel sound. "Well then," he said, "I hope the money keeps you warm, because after this, you don't have a family anymore." They walked out. And for the first time, I didn't cry when they left. Because I realized something. I didn't lose a family that night. I lost people who had never truly stood by me. And I finally stood up for the girl they spent years trying to silence. Days passed in a fog of silence after my parents left. No more angry texts, no phone calls, not even a passive-aggressive email from Mom about how sad it was to see a daughter so consumed by greed. Nothing. But I wasn't alone. Grandma called daily. My friends checked in. And then, one afternoon, just as I was about to step out for groceries, someone knocked on my door. It was Ryan. I stared at him through the peephole for a solid minute. He looked nervous, sleepless eyes, hands shoved deep into the pockets of his hoodie. I opened the door. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. I said nothing, just stepped aside and let him in. He didn't sit, just stood in the middle of my living room like he didn't know where he belonged. "I didn't know they were going to do that," he said finally. "At the will reading. I didn't ask for it." "But you didn't stop them either," I replied. Calm, factual. He flinched. "I know," he said, "and I should've." We stood in silence. Then, slowly, he pulled something from his jacket, the copy of Grandpa's letter, the one Grandma had given him later, after she found out he was spiraling. "He wrote me one too," Ryan said, voice hoarse. "It wasn't as warm as yours, but it was honest." He looked up at me. He said, he saw what our parents had done, that letting them shape me into their legacy had ruined any chance I had at becoming my own person. I didn't say anything, not yet. He told me to stop letting other people fight my battles, to grow up, to apologize, and to fix what I can. My throat tightened. "I'm sorry, Maddie," Ryan said, finally meeting my eyes. "Not just for what happened with the inheritance, for everything, for not speaking up, for letting them push you aside while I coasted. I always knew, deep down. But it was easier to ignore than to confront them. There it was, the thing I thought I'd never hear. Not a full undoing, but a start. We sat down, talked, for hours. About the birthday parties I never got, the science fair they never came to, the showcase they missed, the way Ryan was always told he was special, while I was told I was strong enough to do it alone. He admitted something I didn't expect, that being the favorite had its own prison. "I was so scared to fail," he confessed. "Every time I messed up, they covered for me. Paid it off, fixed it. But I never learned how to stand. I'm 25, and I've never had to earn anything. You built your life brick by brick. I envy that." We sat in silence again. Then Ryan said something that cracked the air open. "I'm going back to school." I blinked. "What?" "With my part of the inheritance. I'm enrolling at the community college nearby. I want to study software design, maybe finance later. I want to build something of my own for once." I didn't cry. But I did smile. Because that wasn't just a plan. It was a break in the pattern. "I think Grandpa would be proud," I said. Ryan nodded. I know he would. And for the first time since we were kids, we hugged. Not out of obligation, but out of something real. Something earned. It's been 6 months since the will reading. My parents still won't speak to me. They've cut Ryan off too, blaming me for turning their golden boy against them. He says it hurts, but also feels lighter, like he can finally breathe. As for me, I've stopped waiting for their approval. Instead, I've been building something new. I used part of my inheritance to start a small mentorship fund for young women in underrepresented fields, girls like me, who were told to stay quiet while their brothers were praised. I named the fund after Grandpa. I'm also in therapy again. Healing is messy, non-linear, but I'm learning to untangle the shame I carried for years, to separate who I am from who I was told to be. And Ryan? He's thriving in school. He sends me screenshots of his grades, his project drafts. Sometimes I tease him. "So now you're the nerd in the family?" He laughs. Every time. We started a new tradition, sibling Sundays. Once a month, no phones, no parents, just us making pancakes, going for walks, building a bond that never got the chance to grow. Grandma remains our anchor. She keeps telling us, "You two are rewriting the story. Don't stop now." And she's right. Because family isn't just blood, it's choice, it's boundaries, it's truth. For years, I thought love meant staying silent, shrinking to keep peace, sacrificing space so someone else could shine. Not anymore. I didn't just inherit money. I inherited my voice. And I intend to use it.